Now, if you're sharing the gospel with someone who is wrestling with a brokenness, either physically, relationally, emotionally, they're feeling the effects of sin and making them very unhealthy, then this particular way of sharing the gospel, it'll use the same picture, but we're going to change the language to language of health and wellness. A little tangent here for all of you. The Greek word for salvation, I'm going to write it here off to the side, is sozo. And this particular word can be translated by two English words. The one is, we typically think of salvation in terms of rescue. But the other English word that can be used is the word restore. Sozo is equally true of throwing a life preserver out to a drowning man as it is for helping a sick man and bringing him back to health. When we look at the world today, we see a lot of sickness and sadness in the world, a lot of broken people, and our hearts scream when we see that that's not right. That's not the way it should be. You're right, the world wasn't created for that. The world was created for good. It was created for good and for wellness, for wholeness, that people would live together in this world in harmony, in healthy relationships, and that our relationship with the world would be healthy, and the world itself would be healthy, and that we as people would be healthy. And that was because we are bound up in a relationship with our Creator, who is also our sustainer and our provider, who is caring for us. But the world that we live in today, and I don't have to pull up the Bible to prove this, is desperately sick. It's like it's covered in a smog of sickness. And it's like you can almost look in any corner of the world to see this sickness at work. And living within this world, our relationships are also very sick. And so often our relationships become so sick that we quarantine ourselves against each other. It's really easy for us to point fingers here and say, you're the sickie, and you're the sickie, and you're the sickie. But in reality, we need to see that this person here is no different than you, really. I mean, maybe by degree, but not in kind. We're the same kind. We're made of the same stuff. And the problems you saw in that person are problems that are really inside of you too. The problems you see out in this world are because this world's systems were created by people just like you, who are sick with the same thing that you're sick with. The real problem is not just the systems, because the system was created by the people, and those people are just like you and me. And this is because you and I have separated ourselves from the source of life. We have quarantined ourselves against God by our sickness. And the Bible calls that sickness sin. We have rebelled against Him, and that sin has become like an infectious disease within our life and causes us, and it's a sickness that's going to bring us to death. Not just death physically, but death eternally. Our world and each of us has been damaged by sin. Now God cares for us and loves us very much. And like an amazing physician, He has not stood off to the side waiting for us all just to die off before He starts over. He's actually got right into the middle of the disease. He started healing the sick and caring for them and feeding the hungry because He cared about the condition of humanity. Jesus not just cared for us, He actually suffered with us and died as a consequence of our sickness. Not just because our sick world killed Him, but because He actually chose to take our sins into His uninfected body and to suffer and die with those sins. So that when He rose again from the dead, to show that the life that He has can overcome the sickness of this world. And so that when we come, He heals us. He heals us from the sickness called sin. And He will actually forgive us for our sins and wrap His health around us. As He restores us again back into a relationship with God, our Creator, our Sustainer, and our Provider. The world is still very sick, and Jesus has a plan for that world. You see, now that He has brought me into wholeness with Himself, He is actually sending me and others like me into this world to be agents of His healing. At times it'll mean that I help other people who are actually sick and are actually broken in a very physical way. But other times it means, working on reconciliation and forgiveness. And again, my tags, I forgot. Because we have been restored in Jesus. And not just restored in Jesus, we've been sent by Jesus to heal. Now some are going to say, well, why can't we just, looking at the sickness of the world, start to do this anyways? Why do we need to go through Jesus? Well, this would be sort of like a nurse showing up to work with the flu when she works in palliative care. That would be a terrible thing to do, because she would carry sickness into that ward and would actually probably cause more damage than good. So that sickness keeps us, it bars us from going straight to activism. We need to be healed by Jesus before Jesus can send us out into this world to heal.